Every people has its gods, and every people has a road that will not let you leave. Tonight, we come back to the islands, to the rain and the heat and the smell of wet green things, to a dirt road at dusk between the rice and the bamboo, to the place where two paths cross, and to the tall, thin figure standing in the middle of it, waiting for you to be polite. This is the Tikbalang. Start with the experience, because the experience came first. You are walking a road you have walked your whole life, not a strange road. The road from the fields to your house. It is getting dark, and it has just rained, and you are tired, and you are not frightened, because there is nothing here to be frightened of. And then the road does not end where it ends. You keep walking. You pass the same bend. You pass it again. The lights of the house are somewhere off to your right, and then they are somewhere off to your left, and then they are not anywhere at all. You are not lost in the way a stranger gets lost. You are lost in a place you know, which is worse. Because if you cannot trust this road, you cannot trust anything. Every farming culture on Earth has this experience. Almost every one of them gives it a name. In these islands, the name has a horse's head, and it is standing at the crossroads, and it is not chasing you, and it is not going to. It is just going to let you walk. So let me describe it properly, the way it is described there. The Tikbalang is tall, unreasonably tall, thin to the point of looking wrong, all bone and length, arms and legs far longer than they have any business being. It has the head of a horse, and the feet of a horse, and the body of a man. And the detail everybody who has ever seen one insists on is what happens when it squats down. Its knees come up above its head. That is the image that survives 400 years of retelling, almost unchanged. Not the teeth, not the claws, the knees. Because it is the detail that tells you this thing is shaped like a person and folded wrong. It lives where the countryside gets old, under bridges, in bamboo, in banana groves, and above all, in the balete, the strangler fig, the tree that grows down over another tree and slowly kills it and keeps its shape, so that what you are looking at is a hollow braided cage of roots standing where something else used to be. If you have ever stood in front of a real one, at dusk, you understand immediately why nobody had to be persuaded that something lived in it. And in the modern telling, it smokes. A big cigar in the dark under the tree, which is a wonderful piece of folklore because it is not frightening at all. It is territorial. It is a large, unpleasant neighbor on his own porch, watching you come up the road. Now, here is where this episode turns, and I want to build it properly, so stay with me through one small piece of paperwork. We can date this creature, not roughly, actually, because the Spanish who arrived in these islands did what colonial missionaries always did, which was to write everything down in order to argue with it. They compiled dictionaries, enormous ones, Tagalog words on one side, Spanish on the other, and a short note explaining what the natives believed. So we have a paper trail. 1589, the word appears. Tikbalang, named and nothing more. No description at all. 1613, the first real entry, in the vocabulary compiled by the Franciscan San Buenaventura, and the thing he describes is this: very tall, long hair, small feet, a patterned loincloth, a smell to it, and, he says, They claim it has wings, and that it carries men wherever it wants. Read that list again. Tall, long-haired, small-footed, winged, carries people off. There is no horse in it. None. Not a hoof, not a mane, not a long face. The oldest written description of the most famous horse-headed monster in the Philippines does not contain a horse. So where did the head come from? The horse is not native to these islands. There were no horses in the Tagalog countryside. Not a few. None. The Spanish brought them, in numbers, from 1565 onward, off the ships, for the soldiers and the friars and the officials. A handful may have come earlier through the trading routes in the far south, but not here. Not on this road. So picture what a horse actually is, to somebody who has never seen one. It is enormous. It is faster than anything you have ever watched move. It is a huge alien animal that arrived on a ship, and the men who own it are the men who now own everything else. Now watch the paperwork. 1613. Winged. No horse. Around 1731. Now it is a shapeshifter, and among the shapes it can take is a horse. 1751. The Jesuit Delgado records the account of a boy from San Mateo who says he was nearly carried off, and describes it with a long face like a horse, and shins that rose above its head when it crouched. 1763. Mosso writes it plainly. The body of a giant and the legs of a horse. There it is. In 150 years, on paper, in order, you can watch a forest spirit grow a horse's head. The most recognizable monster in Philippine folklore is wearing a face the colonizers brought with them. Now, I do not tell you that to take the story away from anybody. Quite the opposite. Because the wrong conclusion here is, so it is not real. It is just a colonial invention. That is not what the record says. The record says the thing in the trees was there first, and had been there for as long as anyone was writing anything down, and that when the world changed, the islands reached out and took the most frightening new thing in it, and put that face on their monster. That is not a myth dying. That is a myth doing exactly what a living myth is supposed to do. And the friars helped, in their way, without meaning to. Because the missionary project everywhere it went did the same thing to local spirits. It did not delete them. It reclassified them. The old beings of the mountains and the fields and the water were not argued out of existence. They were demoted, written down in the dictionary under demon, and left there, alive, in the tree, at the end of the road. Which is why the Tikbalang survives at all. The gods of these islands were largely written over. The thing under the bridge was not. Nobody bothers to abolish the thing under the bridge. It is beneath the notice of the new religion, which is precisely how it outlived it. So, say it happens. You are on the road. The road has stopped behaving, and you know what that means. What do you do? And this, for me, is the most revealing part of the entire story. You do not fight it. There is no hero who kills a Tikbalang. There is no blessed weapon, no saint's medal, no correct prayer, no silver anything. In 400 years of this creature being on the road, nobody in the folklore ever thinks to bring a bolo to it. Instead, there are 3 remedies, and every single one of them is a manners rule. The first, take off your shirt, turn it inside out, and put it back on. That is it. That breaks the enchantment, and the road returns. The second, ask permission, out loud. tabi tabi pull, which means, roughly, excuse me, with the small word at the end that Tagalog puts on a sentence to make it respectful to an elder. You say it out loud, to nobody, in an empty field before you cut through. And the third, keep your voice down in the woods. Do not be loud. Do not be rude in a place that is not yours. Look at what that adds up to. The remedy for the most feared creature on the road is to be visibly, deliberately humble in front of something you cannot see. Turn your clothes around so you look foolish. Say, excuse me, to an empty field. Lower your voice. This is not a monster you defeat. It is a monster you apologize to, unless you are the other kind of person. Because there is a second half to this, and it is pure island bravado. The Tikbalang, they say, has a mane of coarse spines down the back of its neck, and in that mane are 3 hairs that are not like the others. Thicker, golden. Pull all 3, and it belongs to you. Not for a favor, not for a wish. It serves you until the day you die, and the hair itself becomes an anting, an amulet. The thing you carry that means the creature has to come when you call it. There's only the small matter of how you get them. You have to jump onto its back. You have to bind it with a cord prepared in advance, which tells you that this was never something you did by accident. This was something you left the house intending to do. And then you hold on. It goes up. It takes you over the trees and over the fields in the dark, and it does everything it can think of to throw you off. And you do not let go. And it does not stop until one of you is finished. If it tires first, it is yours. If you let go first, well, you were very high up. I love that this is in the folklore at all, because it means that somewhere in the history of that road, people were not only telling each other how to survive the thing in the dark. Somebody was also telling his friends, seriously, over a drink, exactly how he would ride it. And then there's the strangest belief attached to it, and my favorite. Sometimes it rains while the sun is out. Hard rain in full daylight, out of a sky that is not dark. You have stood in it. Everybody has. It feels wrong in a way that is difficult to explain, because the two things are not supposed to be happening at once. In the Philippines, when that happens, the old line is, "May kinakasal na tikbalang." A tikbalang is getting married. Somewhere out of sight, in weather that should not exist, there is a wedding going on that you were not invited to. And in the darker versions of the telling, the bride is a girl from a village, and nobody is going to see her again. The Spanish, incidentally, had almost exactly the same saying about witches, so it is entirely possible the two beliefs met on these islands and married each other, which would be very appropriate. But keep hold of the underlying instinct, because it is the same one running through this whole episode. When the world behaves strangely, the assumption is not that the world is broken. The assumption is that something else is going about its business, and you have simply caught a glimpse of it. So what is the Tikbalang for? Because a myth that lasts 400 years and survives a colonization is not doing nothing. It is doing a job. Here is the job. The Philippine countryside will genuinely turn you around. That is not superstition. That is terrain. Bamboo grows in walls. Paths close over in a season. The rain comes down so hard that you cannot see the far side of a field, and the light goes in 20 minutes, and every stand of trees looks like the last one. People got lost, people are still getting lost. Some of them did not come back. You can respond to that in two ways. You can say, the world is random and indifferent, and sometimes it swallows a man on his way home from the fields for no reason at all. Or you can say, there is somebody out there. He has rules, and the rules are knowable. And the second answer is not stupidity. It is the more useful of the two, because the first one leaves you with nothing to do, and the second one hands you a shirt to turn inside out. It gives the dark a personality, and a personality can be negotiated with. But notice what the negotiation actually is. Every other culture we have visited on this channel armed you. The Norse gave you a weapon and told you to die well with it. The Egyptians gave you a book of the correct answers and a stone to keep your own heart quiet. These islands gave you something much smaller and much harder. They told you that you are a guest, that the field was somebody's before it was yours, and the tree was there first, and the road at dusk does not belong to you simply because you are the one walking on it, and that the whole of your protection, the entire defense, against a thing that is taller than your house and can carry you into the sky, is that you were raised well enough to say, "Excuse me," to something you cannot see. I have thought about that a great deal. I am not sure any culture has ever asked for less or given more back for it. That is the Tikbalang, a phantom of the mountains that grew a horse's head when the ships came. 3 gold hairs for anyone brave enough or stupid enough to try, and a wedding in the sunlit rain. Next time, we go back to the cold, to a god so beloved that his mother went to every single thing in the world: fire, water, iron, stone, sickness, beasts, and made each one promise never to hurt him. Everything except one small plant, which she thought was too young to bother asking. The death of Balder, and why it doomed the gods. Follow the fire, and I will tell you that one too. Until then, sleep well, and when you cut through the field, say, "Excuse me."